Good day everyone. My name is Lourine Mar B, Sabellano, BS Environmental Science student. I will be discussing to you the flood risk assessment for Davao Oriental in the Philippines using Geographic Information System based multi-criteria analysis and the maximum entropy model by Jonathan Salazar Cabrera and Hanso Lee. In the Philippines, the occurrence of natural hazards and disasters is frequent due to the physical environment of the country, which faces the Pacific Ocean where catastrophic typhoons originated. Furthermore, the Philippines is located in a part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. The Philippines is vulnerable to typhoons, floods, tsunamis. Recent scientific May et al. And Rose et al. Were concentrated on pluvial flood mapping in major river basin using 2D flood simulation and vulnerability assessment against pluvial flooding and coastal flooding due to storm surge during the passage of Typhoon Pablo. Focus on the East Coast municipalities, but Typhoon Pablo affected the entire province. All the flooding-related studies in Davao Oriental are beneficial to providing a spatial presentation of the distribution of the flooded areas. So the objective of the study is to identify the flood-prone areas and to assess flood risk due to pluvial flooding in a data-scarce area. Davao Oriental in Mindanao Island, Philippines, based on a broad-scale, high-level data-driven screening method to help identify potential hotspots for pluvial flooding, for which more detailed numerical model studies have to be undertaken. So the methods and materials of the study. 3 methods of flood-prone areas assessment using hydrological models such as SWOT, the nonlinear machine learning algorithms such as decision, quantitative approaches such as frequency ratio, logistic regression, weights of evidence, genetic algorithm, differential evaluation, and analytic hierarchy process. So the above-mentioned methods successfully provided a flood risk assessment, but every method faced some limitations. So the methodology is based on GIS-based spatial assessment processes for flood hazard and risk assessment by using the AHP or the analytic hierarchy process and the Maxent model. So the multiple data sets considered were slopes, evaluation, soil type, rainfall, drainage density, and distance to the main channel, and were defined as criteria or factual evidence. So here is the figure 1. The letter A shows the map of the Philippines, and the B is the map of the Mindanao where Davao Oriental is being located, and the letter C is the map of Davao Oriental with National Climatic Data Center or NCDC precipitation data points, and the letter D is Davao Oriental map with its digital evaluation model and 2 weather stations of DOST Region 11 and Hinatuan. So the 70 field survey points flooded due to Typhoon Bopa in 2012 are all between 10 and 20 meters in altitude. Thus, the area below 20 meters above the mean sea level are considered flooded, specifically in the red zones or the red colors in the map. And the other areas are considered non-flooded are the green zones. So here is the map, is the flow chart rather, of the flood-prone area assessment, where in the satellite we can have the slope, evaluation, drainage density, and distance to the main channels. And the collected database are the soil types, rainfall, and the population density. So here is the table 1 summary of the data sets used in the study. We have the rainfall, DEM, or the digital evaluation model, the administration map, soil map, and the population and socioeconomic data. So here is we have the daily observed rainfall at an evaluation, and the sources such as Pag-asa, the National Center for Environmental Informations, and other sources. So here in the table 2 shows the pairwise comparison matrix for the AHP based on the criteria evaluation for the 4 decision makers, such as the city engineering officer, the city planning officer, the provincial director of the Environmental and Natural Resource Office, and the director of the Integrated Coastal Resource and Management Program of Davao Oriental. So the indicators are the rainfall, slopes, evaluation distance to main channel, drainage, and soil type. And the table 3 is the matrix normalization with criteria weights or PV, and the consistency measure of the data sets. So the validation of the AHP method. The resulting prevail flood-prone areas by the AHP method, a GPS-based field survey of local people was carried out along the east coast of Davao Oriental to investigate the true ground points flooded by historical flooding events. So the validation of the Maxent model, the accuracy assessment for the Maxent model in the validation was performed using the area under the curve or AUC. So the AUC is a popular comprehensive quantitative method of accuracy assessment that can be used to evaluate the prediction and success rates. So the results and discussion. The vulnerability is the most crucial component of flood risk because vulnerability determines if exposure to a hazard constitutes a threat. So flood vulnerability mapping is the process of determining the degree of susceptibility and exposure of a given place to flooding. And the Maxent model learns by combining the sample layer or the layer for the flood points from the field survey and the environmental layers such as rainfall, slope, evaluation, drainage density, and distance to the main channel, and the shows the contribution rates of the environmental layers to prevail flooding. So here in the table 4, accuracy assessment using the ground truth points for the field survey. We have the very low, low, moderate, and high, and very high. And the table 5 is the confusion matrix to calculate the ACC, TPR, TNR, and FRP for performance evaluation of the analytic hierarchy process. And the table 6 is the flood risk assessment represented by the affected population and the number of affected barangays in each municipality by the AHP method. So this is the prevail flood risk map by the AHP method. It is being generated by a weight overlay of the hazard and vulnerability maps with equal weights with 5 classifications as we can show in the figure 5. So we have the very low, the moderate classes covers the 0.6%, 60.64%, and 35% of the total area respectively. And the categories of the high and very high are estimated at 3.34% and 0.05 is the very high of the total area respectively. So, conclusion and recommendation of the study. Flooding is a natural hazard that possesses a risk to both people and physical structures within the affected areas. Flood risk occurrence can be better understood through the use of spatial assessment. Thus, the flood-prone areas and flood risk due to pluvial flooding for Davao Oriental in Mindanao of the Philippines are assessed by the GIS-based MCDA based on the AHP method and Maxent model with 7 criteria such as evaluation, rainfall, soil type, slope, drainage density, distance to main channel, and the population density. In the validation of pluvial flood prone area assessments, where Maxent model results shows better accuracy over the limited area with historical flood records available, particularly in addressing the relationship between pluvial flood occurrences and the environmental factors compared to that from the AHP. In contrast, the AHP flood-prone hazard map is appropriate in data-scarce area such as Davao Oriental of this study due to the limited historical records of flood events. So here is the reference of the study. Thank you.